Yes.
Senate institutions with our House counterparts, House corrections institutions. We're working on negotiations towards the Capitol bill. The House had left us with some proposals. The first one I'd like to turn to would be the House proposal on state building and naming committee. We want to thank you for that work on that. I think it was more in lines of what I had envisioned yesterday. And the committee agrees, and so we'd like to adopt your language for that, for the House proposal on state building and naming committee. If that is okay with you.
Fine with us.
Thank you. We have a little bit of a counter proposal for you on the rest of it. First of all, let's go to the language of this Southeast State Correctional Facility potential reuse. We're going to agree to the language. We're fine with that. We're just going to ask that we can do all of that work for $225,000. We think that we can do $100,000 for the state correctional facility, and then I'm sure that study can be done for $125,000 of what we've talked about, and for the money's part of that, and
For reentry.
for the reentry. I'm sorry. I'm sure we can. $200,000 seems a little steep for that. I'm sure that we can do that for 125 for the reentry and leave the $75,000 in the dams. If you can do that, we can move on. And the only thing that we're gonna have left would be the forensic facility language, which is going to be a little bit out of our control until we can see where the house is. I'd be interested in seeing the language that you were looking for the site size, if we're gonna adopt it into the capital bill. And if you don't have that now, we can do it at our next meeting.
876, I believe is up on the Senate floor, and there's going to be an amendment, because Ben's has worked on that. They have an agreement that came out of Senator Probst.
Okay.
So, so whatever is pertaining to the women's reentry facility, I think there's two sections. One is looking at justice oversight, working about the size of the facility, the operational, as well as the reentry piece. There's two sections there. So we're just work with Ben. It's just gonna be really important to have the same language in our capital bill as 876, because the money and everything for the reentry is with us.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start divvying up into another committee language that pertains to something in our bill, you lose that once you come back.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's only insurance, belts and suspenders, but there'll be new people next year in all committees, and it's just good to get together. That's my only concern.
And that would be our concern as well. I agree with that. I'd just like to see the language, so we put our eyeballs on it. And so you can as well, and then we can agree to it, because it's, once we agree to it, we have to defend it. So,
So it probably makes sense to wait to see what happens on the Senate floor with 876.
And then we get the bill back, and it's my committee that works on concurring the Senate proposal amendment. So we're gonna look at that tomorrow morning at 8:30.
So maybe tomorrow morning, or do we? Yeah, because I don't know when you're taking up 876.
They're supposed to do it. I think Ben said he's worked up with an amendment with Senator Sears.
Okay.
It was not in the probe, so I think it was gonna be today.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Ben and I can work on language, provided we've got clear guidance on which sections. And then we can have that either for a later meeting today or for first thing in the morning to go over, and then go from there. So there's still, at this point, I can put together a draft with a placeholder for forensic facility and a placeholder for reentry facility study.
I gotta be respectful to the chair. She hasn't agreed to the numbers that we put out there, so.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to ask BGS, can you do the reentry study for 125 instead of 200? Yes. That's all, you fine with it?
Okay, thank you.
So in order to help your workflow, it would really be good to have as much of that drafted, and then we should know the 876 by tomorrow morning, and then the forensic thing, if it's got a hold and
Hmm.
keep it open, so we can find out what needs to be in there, if anything, depending on what happens. Then I think we're done,
Okay.
Well,
so,
Yeah, I'll get to work on that. I'll let
Okay.
Ben, I'll just email him to see if we can check in after it goes through on the floor.
Okay, yeah.
And then, maybe it makes sense if he's got a pause before the floor, just to touch base with him so that you can identify the language. And make sure that aligns with what you wanna see in there.
Yeah, so I'm not any different.
So I'll email him to see if he's available now, cause you're back on the floor at 4:30.
well, we're fine, so we've got some time.
Okay, great. So I'll email him, see if we can touch base and then I'll get started on a draft. I'll work with Scott to make sure the numbers all line up. We'll
The
update the line
spreadsheet.
items.
And the
Sort of-
spreadsheet.
Yep, we'll update line items so the spreadsheet and the bill align and actually reflect what's in the conference report.
Yep.
And then I'll get it to the editors for tomorrow morning, hopefully before we leave.
One thing I'm kind of wondering, I know this is late, but on the spreadsheet, it says, state house the cafeteria, tables and chairs, maybe beverages and furnishings. Something like,
tables and chairs.
Okay, I'm,
I mean, I remember one time we did. For, state house interior, we had drapes and carpets, oh my god. I can't believe the pushback I was getting from folks, it's right around COVID time, and so, oh my god, you're doing carpets and drapes and people are suffering. And I'm just, that's what's coming to mind when you say tables and chairs.
can we say, instead of,
Furnishings.
I would be fine with that, Madam Chair.
Just put on the spreadsheet, because that's what people are gonna see more, they're gonna see the spreadsheet more than what.
We even had a question, I think, in your report report.
Right.
Yeah, people react really weird,
Right,
so I'm just thinking furnishings.
I would be fine with that. That would be,
Yeah.
good, okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you.